Good afternoon. Welcome to Business as Usual. Today is July 20th, 2020. I like saying that. And it's 7 months into the year, which is 2020. Hard to believe. But I'm Audrey. I run the Pittsburgh Technology Council. I'm joined here today by Jonathan Kirsting, and he's Vice President of all things media at the Tech Council, as well as he does a host of other things in terms of podcasts and exposing our companies to the world. So a few things, just some housekeeping to get out of the way and to extend appreciation for our sponsors. Thank you so much to Sheets. Everyone should know what Sheets is if you live in Southwestern Pennsylvania, but you might not know is they actually have an innovation center right here in Pittsburgh, and they're focusing, as they always do, on a myriad of ways to create more innovation in terms of the businesses that they own. Deloitte has been a longtime partner of the Tech Council. They've been around for a long time as well, but their presence is, what you might not know is that 85% of the Fortune 500 companies actually use Deloitte. So they're very well wired. They're amazing citizens to us in this region, and we appreciate their work with us. And then Huntington Bank has been with us right from the beginning. So if it weren't for Huntington Bank, a lot of the small business loans through the CARES Act would not have been processed. So thank you, and use our sponsors as well. So we have a great lineup this week as well. Tuesday, tomorrow, we have Utib Essian. He's a physician at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, and very interested in doing research in COVID and the effect on the Black community and people of color. And we have Valerie Cofield. She's Eastern Minority Supplier at the Development Center. She runs that. We have her on Wednesday, which is the 22nd. Thursday, we have Dennis Dermis. He is the Senior Vice President at Bayer, and he's head of Region America. So that's what we have in store for you right now, and we're always adding new guests, so thank you so much. So your microphones are muted, and that's because we don't want to hear what's in your background, and we want to be considerate of our guests, and there's a chat, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask our guests some questions. So I'm excited to host these guys. They have been good friends of the Tech Council. One worked at the Tech Council for almost a dozen years. Josh Lucas has been a great partner and been able to build something from really nothing. He's an entrepreneur in his own right and doing things in a neighborhood that really matters, and many of us aren't really familiar with, but we should be and we will be. And Justin has really taken this idea in terms of Tech Elevator to a new level, and he really provides a lot of support and talent for people in many of our multinational and Pittsburgh-based companies. They both do. And so what you're going to hear are two people who are leading some really important work. They've been leading this work long before COVID, and they are going to be continuing to lead this work long after COVID, I'm sure. So I just want to say a couple of things. Last week, we convened over 400 of our members to the region's technology community as part of a major event we do every year. We do a huge event that's in person. Sometimes it's 700 to 800 people in person. So we tried to figure out how are we going to do it. And we created a virtual event and honoring CIOs, Chief Information Officers, and Chief Security Officers from 13 counties around Southwestern Pennsylvania. So to a person, if you asked any of those leaders what the top issues are that keep them up at night on any given day, and it's around talent. Talent is it. And so a few years ago, I think it started to sink in here in Pittsburgh and across the globe that we needed to end this war, or this yearn, or this developed pipeline where we just moved employees from one end of the county to another, from one company to the next, which just happens in Silicon Valley and other places as well. But we needed to be a little bit more aggressive about that. We continue to. So it was about building the pipeline. So by opening up our doors to skilled talent and by working to upskill our existing workforce, that's why you see us working so hard on the issues around immigration, but it also on STEM, on programming for K through 12, and then telling our region's story to the world. And we try our best to tell our story with these two gentlemen and the companies that they've each built and expanded. So in the middle of this, we have, a new national trend, the creation of short-term, highly intense boot camps focused on taking high potential people and helping them develop critical technology skills. So that's about all I'm going to talk, because I want everyone to listen to the guys that are here. I'm going to start with Josh Lucas, and he, tell us about this spread, you know, across the country, and share really the origin of what you're doing at Academy Pittsburgh, because it's a story that everyone needs to know about, and hopefully everyone can help contribute to. So I'm going to pass the baton to Josh, and then we're going to bring Justin on.
Well, thanks for having us today, Audrey. It's good to see everybody. Academy Pittsburgh started in 2016. The idea was that we need to be able to provide condensed technical education to people in the region, and we need to do that with an eye on equity to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate in this tech and tech-adjacent economy. So we run a 12-week web developer boot camp 2 or 3 times a year. About 65% of the people that participate in that boot camp come from some underrepresented group in tech. And then here in the region, we place about 85% of them into jobs that have average starting salaries around $55,000 a year. That trend continues nationally, obviously. Boot camps have been proven over the last decade to be very good at taking someone that's an adult and transitioning them into a new profession that has more upward mobility.
So, but you've been a community builder. So just give a little bit of a background, because I think it's also important for people to know about the person and the leader.
Yeah, I mean, so Academy Pittsburgh has a sister organization that we call Work Hard Pittsburgh. It's a cooperatively organized business incubator. And so Academy is a product of that co-op. We provide systems, processes, and a place for people to come together that are entrepreneurs or freelancers and work out their ideas and take those ideas to start and scale. And we do that all at a neighborhood level and work really hard to be inclusive of the people that are in those neighborhoods, so that we're not displacers and gentrifiers, but rather creating access points where people can loop in, find advantage, find resources, and find talent and capacity.
Would you think I overstated it if I said that you were really an anchor community leader in the Allentown area?
Well, I mean, if you like pasta, you'd probably point to Alla Familia, but we're probably second in, right? So Alla Familia has been there for 15 years, and we've been there since about 2012. So we've been there a while, and we are in the process of acquiring some more real estate, and we want to make sure that those commercial buildings and that real estate is all something that the community can access and feel like it's theirs, it's not ours.
And your community work, one last thing on your community work with the sister organization, your community work cuts across every type of entrepreneur. It's not just the area that the Tech Council focuses on in tech and on tech. Yeah,
for sure. We do everything from build complicated, web apps, all the way down to commercial cleaning companies and African-American owned construction companies.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership there. Thanks. And if anyone gets a chance post-COVID at some point, it's really important to go up there and visit and see what's transformed. So I want to switch real quickly to Justin Driscoll. Justin, we've known, used to be at the Tech Council, running all things related to talent. And, we're thrilled that he's moved on into expanding the presence of Tech Elevator. So welcome, Justin. Thanks for being here. And sort of tell us about Tech Elevator.
Sure. Hi, Audrey. Thanks for having me here today. I had a great time working at the Tech Council. I still love the Tech Council, and it gave me an opportunity to help companies for the collectively 15 years almost that I was at the organization. And it allowed me to meet a lot of tech companies and hear their challenges around hiring for a long time. And we did some good work over the years while I was at the Tech Council, and helping companies tangibly find talent. And so when I transitioned to Tech Elevator back in 2018, it's going so fast, I'm trying to 2018, yeah. So when I transitioned back in 2018, it was really just an extension and an expansion of the work that I had been doing, in my opinion, at the Tech Council for all those years. And so Tech Elevator is a boot camp program, just like Academy Pittsburgh, in the sense of we are a short-term education environment to give people skills that are highly in demand through a full stack, either Java or .NET focused software developer bootcamp program. And so it's 14 weeks. It's very focused on taking adults. Average age is about 30 years old, and putting them through a full-time program, coming through our program with the whole intention of landing a job shortly after graduation. And so Tech Elevator really, it was founded in 2015, actually in Cleveland, and has expanded one campus every year since 2015. So
Wow.
Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh was the fourth campus in 2018, and then Detroit, Philadelphia, and now because of COVID, our live remote program. And so we have 8 different campuses now that we're focused on in helping adults learn software development skills in a short period of time to help them land a job after the program. And so we're focused kind of in 2 tracks all at the same time. We're very much focused on the academic side of it. So our instructors have an average tenure as a software developer themselves for about 20 years before they come to Tech Elevator. And so they're learning from practitioners, these students are every day, and then people like myself and others within Tech Elevator are building relationships with companies across the Pittsburgh region and all of our markets to help our students kind of open that door for them before they leave Tech Elevator, and so that they have more of a soft landing at companies that might not be used to these non-traditional students. And so then we're helping them find jobs. In fact, this cohort that we're in right now, as we speak, is starting today to start the process here in Pittsburgh to look for their first job right out of Tech Elevator. So it's a great program. I love it because it allows us to do really good things and help people change their lives. And so that sounds, and it's not an intention to be over dramatic or anything. It truly is taking individuals who are down on their luck sometimes, or underemployed or undervalued or stuck in a career, and they want to get out of it, and they come to Tech Elevator and they leave on the other end no longer a landscaper or a role that they weren't happy with. They're an automated test engineer. They're a software developer 1. They're a junior software developer, and so it's really exciting work, and we get really energized by that.
And so is the average salary about the same that what Josh talked about? Yeah,
it's about 60. Maybe 59,000 I think is more specific, but yeah, we're finding that depending on the role, depending on their background, our average salary as an organization is just under 60K. Pittsburgh's a little bit higher, but it's right around 60K.
Okay, that's great. So I'm going to bounce back to Josh. Josh, you have a unique financing method for your program. There are no upfront fees for your students. Can you talk about that and how that works?
Absolutely. We work on an income share agreement model. So when someone participates in our program, they don't pay any upfront tuition. They only pay us if they get a full-time job making more than $45,000 a year. And at that point, they owe us 10% of their gross income for 24 non-consecutive months. So what this allows us to do is, again, look and think about how to deliver this programming equitably. It relieves some of the upfront burden, economic burden associated with taking 12 weeks off of your job to come do this kind of education. Our boot camp is a 40-hour-a-week boot camp, roughly. So it's intensive and hard for people to participate in.
And typically, the skills that they're learning, is it full stack? Is it the same kind of skills?
Yeah, we do Ruby, C# and JavaScript. There's usually a little bit of React in there as well.
Okay.
And at the end, our participants do real world projects. So we find a nonprofit partner or a small business that needs some sort of web app, and our project-based learning really kicks in the last 2 weeks, where the students get together and build something for someone.
So I'm just going to give a plug, and then Jonathan, there might be some questions. So the plug is that when I mentioned about our Chief Information Officer and Security Officer event, we like to do a fundraiser. And the fundraiser this year is really focused on 3 programs, these 2 programs here, and our EDGE program for women. And we're going to put up the link, because no amount is too small. We want to make sure that everyone has equal access to the learning that everyone needs. And both of these programs are great examples, in addition to the EDGE program for women in tech, for people to continuously learn. And training just matters. Training has got to be continuous, and it's for all of us. So Jonathan, can you go to the chat
Absolutely. Got some great questions coming in here, guys. So from Ryan Haggerty wants to know, what kind of conversations do you have with employers around requirements for the job listings in terms of accepting boot camp grads, bachelor's degree, minimum requirements, things like that?
Yeah, so I will say from Tech Elevator's perspective, building relationships with companies really allows us to kind of break down that barrier a little bit for companies. We've actually had companies who have initially hired a student. So a lot of companies have these rules, around degree requirements, number of years, specific kind of, I call it red tape kind of areas that they have to get over sometimes if it's the first time they've ever hired a boot camp grad. So typically we'll have a student that kind of fits their requirements that they hire, and then they go, oh, well, maybe those rules and regulations aren't as relevant as they used to be in this day and age. And so we've had a number of companies actually roll back some of those more antiquated rules and regulations and requirements because they were so impressed with the graduate they did hire. And then they open up the door for people without degrees or associate degrees and so on and so forth. But the key for us is meeting with companies, building that relationship, getting a student in there, showing them our curriculum, and really having them come, before COVID, having them come to campus and meet the students. And it's really more of a relationship building process, which then takes down those walls for a lot of our students.
So tell me a little bit more about teaching soft skills. We understand that the hard skills are necessary, but there's the whole soft skill side of things to make sure that that the students can plug in. And when I say kids, I mean everybody of all ages, not just kids taking these classes, obviously.
Yeah, that's why it's important to do this as project-based learning. So to be a successful web developer, so much of that is learning the toolkit and being able to work in a team environment under some sort of agile methodology. So, those soft skills we hear over and over again from employers are key. And one advantage of hiring a boot camp grad is that you're getting an adult who is probably transitioning out of another career, oftentimes a career that's adjacent to the technical work that you want them to do. So there really is an opportunity to take someone who's coming as a fully mature, robust individual and just teach them a technical skill while they have all these sort of complementary skills already in their pocket.
Yeah, if I could maybe just add to that, Tech Elevator takes a similar approach. We actually have in every campus at least one. Pittsburgh, because of our campus size, we actually have two. We call them pathway directors. And so most of our students who come to us haven't done a job interview in a very long time. We do student interviews before we accept the student into the program, and many of them haven't done any type of interviewing before they come. And the student interview they do with us is the first interview of any type that they have done in a very long time. And so we put them through a pretty rigorous program called the Pathway Program. And so we do multiple rounds of behavioral mock interviews and technical mock interviews. And we bring usually around 10 different companies to the campus or to Zoom, right now anyways, and have them talk to our students. We do panel discussions with software developers, because for our students, it's really this whoever they used to be. It takes a while for that to die and then to transition their brain to become a software developer. And so over those 14 weeks, we need to expose them to software developers. We need to have them talk like a software
Slow transition in.
It's a little bit of a process. Okay, I used to be XYZ.
I'm not anymore.
I'm not
I'm
anymore.
a programmer.
It takes 14 weeks at least for them to go, okay, now I'm really a software developer, a junior software developer, an associate software developer. And so the Pathway Program helps them make that transition.
Can you guys both speak to the diversity within your cohorts?
Yeah, typically our cohort has about 65% underrepresented. A large portion of those are women. So we usually have about 60% of the class is women. African-American, usually about 20% per session. And then Latino and Latinx, we've had a sort of up and down trajectory here in market, where we've had one class that was overwhelmingly Latino, and then there'll be spells where we don't see as much participation.
So it's different for every campus, but I will talk in the Pittsburgh campus. We're usually around 20 to 30% underrepresented race and underrepresented gender. And so in response to that, it's really something we've been wanting to increase. We launched our Represent Tech Scholarship earlier this week, or last week rather, to try to encourage more diversity in our cohorts. And so Tech Elevator's committed $1 million over the next 3 years to fund one student per campus, per cohort. So in Pittsburgh, our first student will be in the fall, and it's an 85% scholarship to come to Tech Elevator, since we're a tuition-based program and not an income share agreement program. And so it's something we've been wanting to do for a while. We've been looking for the right opportunity and the right approach to making a meaningful impact. And we feel like this Represent Tech scholarship is really our first step in doing this type of work. And so Josh has been doing a great job. We're envious of what Josh and his team have been doing up there. So they've been doing good, and we're looking to follow suit with that as well.
Very cool. So how much is a Tech Elevator to go through for a class?
Tech Elevator is $15,500.
Okay.
Okay. And what about it, Josh? Code Academy.
Yeah. So we're ISA model, so it's based on your gross salary. So most of our participants make about 55K. They end up paying back about 10 grand.
Okay. All right.
Very
That's
cool.
good. So what do you both do to keep your cohorts connected? Are there things that you do that you can talk about, Josh?
Yeah, we run so many sort of complementary programs. So we keep a Riot channel going. Riot's like an open source version of Slack, where people bounce around and ask questions. We do active recruiting there. But probably most importantly, when folks graduate Academy Pittsburgh, they often transition into the other ecosystem and start picking up 1099 contract work. So it's not uncommon for our grads to spend another quarter with Work Hard Pittsburgh actually doing web builds, app builds under a completely different set of developers, completely different set of senior talent to continue to mature their portfolio. And then as they interview and go through the job seeking process, they usually fade away as they pick up their full-time gig. But that sense of community, I think, persists. I see a couple in chat hanging out. So, they're here and they know that it's important for their future career development to continue to pay it forward.
And Justin, how do you keep your cohorts together?
We've had a really great experience with our alumni. So Tech Elevator alumni love to go we've had a number of experiences where they've gone and worked at the same companies, like batches of them, whether it's FedEx or Single Source Property Solutions or Hitachi or PNC, of course, BNY Mellon, and many others. But there are like little pockets of Tech Elevator alumni at these companies, and so they eat lunch together, they work together, and we have multiple happy hour events throughout the year where our alumni come back together and meet with current students. So we keep them engaged through that. We also do what we call alumni mentor nights, and so 3 times a year the alumni will come and visit when we're in person, the campus, to meet with current students, do behavioral mock interviews with them, do technical mock interviews with them. Is just an additional, way to get to know them. So our alumni in Pittsburgh are incredibly engaged. In fact, a group of them just got together and raised, the first scholarship, it'll be $1,000 alumni scholarship for a diversity-focused student to come, and the alumni have done that themselves. They created a website, they're collecting their own money, and this fall, so in the fall, we'll have an additional scholarship opportunity for one of our fall students funded by our alumni. So they're really, really engaged here in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so I just want to remind everyone, we're trying to do the same thing for both of these organizations. So Lexi has put the donate page out there as well. None of this money comes to us, it goes right to them. So I see Ryan Haggerty has a question. Do you see that, Jonathan?
Let me see here. Is this one just come in? Or is that the way it's way at the top?
It's before that. It says, what kind of conversations do you have with employers around the requirements section on job listings in terms of accepting boot camp grads as job ready? So for example, the whole notion of listing a bachelor's degree as a minimum requirement. Either of you want to take a stab at that? Josh?
We touched on it briefly, right?
Right.
we have the advantage of demand, right? Like there's a lot of demand for web developers.
Right.
And while some of the larger enterprise level companies have been slower to transition into seeing the value of someone coming out of a boot camp like Tech Elevator or Academy, the reality is people have to start being more flexible because there's just so much need for quality web developers. So that 4-year degree, while it is a sticking point sometimes for some organization, every year it gets less and less.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very cool. Do you guys have any collaborations with CareerLink or job training employment agencies as well?
Yeah, I think we both do. Tech Elevator is an approved training provider through the CareerLink, and depending on what county they're in, some of the outlying counties will fund a student almost entirely to come, but most, I think Allegheny County is around $5,000 for them to fund a student. So we are very much engaged with CareerLink on that standpoint.
Yeah, CareerLink money is available. It's $5,500, I believe, last year.
Oh, okay. And so what about people who are actually working right now? Are there opportunities for some programs or some pieces and parts of this to be available so that there's regular upskilling?
We've done night sessions in the past. It's a little tough for us. Those stretch out over 9 months, and folks get burnt out coming 3 days a week.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And really grinding on it. We keep looking at doing another night session because the demand is crazy.
Right.
Like, we get so many emails every month because folks can't quit their regular job. There's an economic hardship there that doesn't get addressed. So we're always talking to funders about how to make that happen because we know that, for example, a single mom is going to struggle to do our program, but might have a better chance of participating in the night class.
Right.
Yeah, we face similar challenges with non-traditional hours programs, but we have had good opportunities and good things happen with bigger companies who can take an employee and put them through Tech Elevator to reskill them. So there's a lot of companies around town that have individuals on their teams that the job has changed, but they're good people and they want to keep them. And so rather than letting them go or laying them off, they'll send them to Tech Elevator, upskill them for those 14 weeks and put them back into a software developer role or a testing role within the organization. So any larger organization that is looking to, rather than laying off, it's sometimes cheaper to retrain those individuals and upskill them through a boot camp program and then put them back into the workforce in different open recs.
Yeah, I would agree. I would think the time is now for that as well. What about COVID? Has that affected either of you at all? Look, Josh was laughing.
Just a little.
Justin's laughing. Just a little bit?
Yeah. So I guess it was middle of March. I mean, we basically transitioned our program in a weekend to online. We have historically been somewhat adverse to online learning from a boot camp perspective. There's a lot of online boot camps out there, and many of them have done good work, but we have always been a little bit in-person proud, so to speak. I mean, we've always been very proud of the in-person experience and wanted to keep that. But COVID shook everything in that world. And so we were forced to go. Our spring of 2020 cohort was half in person, and then the second half had to be online. And so we teach 3 hours a day, just like we did in person via Zoom. We can do whiteboarding over Zoom. We can share slides over Zoom. And then in the afternoon, we have our instructors are online all afternoon in Zoom, Google Hangouts, and some other tools to allow us to still, as best as possible, replicate that in-person experience. Because our thing is we wanted to maintain the quality of that personal connection between our instructors and our students and the other students, because they work a lot together as well. And so at least through the end of the year, we will be in what we call live remote. And so we will be still conducting our sessions via live remote environment through the end of the year.
Okay. And when does your next cohort start? And I'm going to ask Josh the same two questions.
We start September 14th.
Okay. So Josh, COVID, and when does the next class start?
Next class is September 21. Applications are open now. It'll be first come, first serve. So we expect that class to be full here in the next 6 weeks or so. COVID's tough, right? We
Right.
intend right now for that September session to have a hybrid model where it's in person, socially distanced, but have that online option available. Obviously, if the governor gives us different guidance, we're going to adhere to any sort of rules and regulations that come down, but we do intend to have an in-person aspect to this.
Okay. And so here's, as we're winding down, Shani's asking what actual outreach goes out to communities of color? What are you doing to really push that out?
Yeah, I mean, as much as we can, right? So, you know, we do sort of a best practice marketing campaign that is specifically designed to raise the visibility of this kind of programming as an opportunity for folks that have traditionally been underserved. We have a slew of partners, everything from neighborhood allies and folks at all of the different foundations that advocate in the background. And then we work closely with partners like New Sun Rising, who,
Oh, great one.
yeah, whose mission it is to be that pathway into the Black community, for example. But you know, the reality is about 80% of all of our participants come from word of mouth, so from other graduates' referrals. So that's why it's so important that, you know, we keep these diversity numbers high, because that leads to greater diversity into future sessions.
Great point. Great work. And I know you're doing a lot of work in Allentown and beyond. So I get that. Thank you. Justin, what about for you?
Yeah, it's primarily a partnership model as well, word of mouth and partnerships and CareerLink and this scholarship. The foundation community has been helpful with word of mouth and really trying to be purposeful to increase that. Word of mouth has been our best friend in that world so far. Well,
part of it also is for us to help you as well. And so anything that we can do to make sure that we're tooting your horns, and Brian Kennedy wrote something that I'll just repeat as we wrap up. These are two great human beings working on some of the toughest issues facing the tech sector. Thanks to both of you. And that's true. I would have to agree, because both of you could be doing other work, but instead you're helping us try to turn our heads upside down and think of ways to create the pathways for tomorrow. So I can't thank you both enough. I know we've asked that we are taking donations that go directly for scholarships for them, as well as our EDGE program. We put that out there. Stay connected to these organizations and the work that they do, because I bet you many of you could actually be helpful to them in many different ways. So I'd like to thank Josh Lucas. Thank you for all the work that you've done and you continue to do. And same thing for you, Justin. Thank you for your work at Tech Elevator. Really, really hopeful, and what you're doing is very helpful for our region. So on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Join us tomorrow, and we're providing relevant information to help drive the Pittsburgh economy, and appreciate you tuning in. And joining me was Jonathan Kirsting, and Brian Kennedy is behind the scenes working his magic. So thank you both for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.